Hi, my name is Tim. Welcome to the channel. In this video I'm going to be replacing the clutch slave cylinder on my Lotus Elise, a MG Rover part fitted to the all MGFs and TFs and fitted to all Rover engined Elises and Exiges. These are about £45 new, and I bought this one a few years ago. I bought it from my previous TF. It was about £25 at the time, I've gone up a bit since then. So I fitted it to the TF, but it didn't last long because the clutch arm was seized, and I tried to force the clutch by pressing the pedal down, and it basically broke the seal in the cylinder. I've since replaced the seals in the cylinder with a new kit. They're only about £10, and I kept this as a spare. And as the seals have gone in my current cylinder on this Elise, I'm going to replace it with this one and keep that one as a spare. What usually happens is you'll notice your gears changes get a bit notchy, and you struggle to get into gear, and you have to get the pedal right to the floor to get it into gear. You may think it's the clutch wearing out, but probably that could actually be the cylinder leaking. This is a fail point on the system, and normally it's around here where the leak, and so if you just run your finger around, you'll be able to, if it's wet down here, you know it's leaking and needs replacing. So the slave cylinder's down here below the coolant tank. You'll need to remove the airbox to get to it. There's a few things that get in the way. There's the coolant pipes, and on the 111S models they have a electric coolant pump which is also fixed to the same brackets. I'm going to remove this out of the way to get some better access. I'll loosen the clip so I can pull it off. So you can see the slave cylinder for the clutch down here on top of the gearbox. So and you can see the fluid leaked out. To remove it, there's two bolts to undo, and then there's a pin on the clutch arm that needs removing, and there's just disconnecting the clutch pipe from here. So we'll need bleeding afterwards using a bleeding kit. I've also got a clutch support bracket fitted that fits to the bell housing, which means I have these two bolts with nuts underneath, which makes it a little bit harder to get off. So that's the pin removed. Took a bit of a fight, did that one. I think somebody kind of bent it too far. Next job is to remove the pin to the arm. So that's the pin out. So the slave cylinder is now disconnected from the clutch arm. Next job, I'm going to release the clutch pipe. I'm going to remove the bolts, hold the slave cylinder in place. It won't be too tight to undo. Release the clutch pipe, you just need a 13mm spanner. That's why I do it when it's before you loosen it. Shouldn't leak just yet. Like that. So next job is to remove the slave cylinder. So I got the leaking slave cylinder removed. Didn't come off as planned. What I discovered was if you've got the Elise part support bracket fitted, you need to remove the lock nuts before you start trying to undo the bolts. Otherwise you end up stripping the thread of the bolt and you can't get it off. So the thread got stripped, so I ended up having to cut the end of the bolt off and drill it out. To do that, I had to remove the bracket, which is the support bracket for the slave cylinder, which is held in with 4 bolts. So I had to remove that so I could get the bolts out of these holes here. Luckily these still have some thread in them, so I should be okay. So to get this bracket off, I had to take the wheel off and cut it in underneath to be able to get the bolts undone. So So I have to refit this before I can install the new clutch slave cylinder. So you can see I've got the replacement slave cylinder fitted. I've fitted the clutch line to it, stop the clutch fluid leaking out while I get it bolted in place. First thing on refitting the slave cylinder is to fit the pin in the clutch arm. Put the pin through now, and I'll put the pin through. Getting these bolts in is always a challenge. So I've got a replacement slave cylinder on. It took a bit of effort. Problem is that the shaft on the slave cylinder is in an extended position, whereas the release arm is in a withdrawn position, and so you can't get the bolts to line up when you bolt it in place. So what I found to do is, the instructions tell you in the manual to bolt it in place and then attach to the release arm, but I found you can't get enough leverage to get the release arm in. So what I did was I connected the release arm first, and then I released the pressure from the bleed valve and just tapped it in a bit to get the arm in so I could line the bolts up, and then bolted it in place. Next job is to bleed the clutch, so I get all the air out of it. I use this one-man brake bleeding kit to do that. Just attach this to the cylinder. You can use that to bleed the fluid out and make sure all the air gets out of it. So I can get to a master cylinder to bleed with the easy bleed. This is a brake master cylinder with a tank which is shared with the clutch master cylinder. This is where we need to add the brake fluid to bleed it. Correct cap for the easy bleed now. I'll just screw on there to be able to bleed the clutch. So to bleed the clutch, I'm going to be using this easy bleed which connects to a spare wheel, and use the pressure from the tyre to bleed the fluid into the clutch. Use this canister which connects to the master cylinder. and then you just pop it on the tyre and it'll pressure the fluid into the clutch. Use too much, so screw this onto the master cylinder. Make sure it's all tight so I don't get any leaks. I just need to connect this to the spare tyre. Need to connect this to a spare wheel to get the pressure. So we've got an 11mm spanner now just to release the pressure in the cylinder. Then release the pressure there. You see the old fluid bleeding out into here now. So I think I'll get rid of all the air. And I'll tighten that up. It's up now, and that should spread. Do this now from here. Careful not to spill any of the fluid in the pipe everywhere. Just place the little bung over it. And that's all finished, so the clutch should work fine now. All good. Get them all done with all new fluid. Just pop this back on. So if I'm trying to remove the bolts using an impact driver, because I have the support bracket fitted from Elise parts which fits with the lock nuts underneath, I ended up stripping the threads on the support bracket, so when I tried to put the bolts back in they were just spinning, so I could only tighten them up using the lock nuts underneath. So it being an MG part, I thought I'd have a look on the MG suppliers, see what we can get, so we can get one cheap rather than paying Lotus prices. So I had a look and we were all out of stock, and the price was about £70 from Browns and Cannons. So I scrapped that idea and used rusty used ones on eBay were 25 quid. But then I had a look on Lotus supplies at a pound number and I found one. So we go, Southwest Lotus dealer. Old stock, genuine. Support bracket, some slight surface rust, £10 plus postage and VAT, but still cheaper than a rusty one on eBay. So there we go, so we're going to fit that now so I can tighten the nuts up. So this is held in with 4 bolts here. These two are 13mm and the bottom two are 14mm, and then there's 2 bolts to the clutch. Slave cylinders fits 2. So the best way to remove this is from the wheel arch, I think. Well, it's the easiest way to get the bolts under. So I've moved the air filter out of the way a bit. So you can either do it from the top really or from the wheel arch, either way. Got the under trays fitted, make sure you don't drop these nuts, else it'll take ages trying to fish them out. Because of the spring of the clutch, makes it hard to get the last bolt out. There we go. is the bracket, so where the clutch fits. So I strip the threads out, I have to drill the old bolts out. So I'm in a method. So that one's stripped, that still has a thread in it. But that one's stripped. Now I'll put the new bracket in place. So put the bolts back in. Last job is to refit the bolts on here. Tricky bit is getting the whole all to line up. Get a bit of pressure resistance from the clutch. Bolts fitted, it's best to put like a screwdriver through one of the holes first to get them to line up before you put the screw in, otherwise you struggle to get the screw threaded in. Last job is to fit the nuts to the bolts to hold the support bracket in place underneath. So the new brackets are all fitted and all tightened up. So the last thing we're going to do is fit a seal kit to the cylinder. This is a new kit from MG Rover. It's a genuine original part. These are only about £10, a lot cheaper than buying a new cylinder. This consists of two different parts. There's a new dust cover and a new seal to go inside on the cylinder. That's a dust cover off, so we just need to get out the cylinder out of here. Next job is to get the piston out of the cylinder, fit a new seal to it. Here's a piston for spring and the old seal there. Easy to pull the spring off. Here we have a new seal on there. Put the spring back on. Now we can put that back in cylinder. And fit the new dust cover. Takes a bit of effort to get that onto there. There we go, took a bit of effort, but our new seal all fitted. That's ready to be fitted to a car now. I keep this as a spare now in case I need to fit a new one.